intuitive and sensitive, an animal communicator, if you will, and a Reiki master practitioner here at animallovelanguages.com. And we are talking about EFT, or Emotional Freedom Technique tapping for pets. Now, in the first two videos in this EFT Tapping for Pets series, we talked about the history of EFT for people and how it has been adapted for pets. And then we talked about the three-part EFT Tapping for Pets formula: the mental, emotional, and the kinetic or physical. And when we left off in the last video, we were just starting to dive into the use of energy meridians for kinetic or physical trauma release, and for the release of strong negative emotions, mental pictures, or memories. So with this video, we're now going to move into working with the specific energy, the physical energy meridians on the body, where they are, why they're important, and how to tap on them to give your animal relief. There are a number of energy meridians that are present on your body and on any animal's body. These energy meridians are where the strong emotions and the mental pictures and memories that are paired with them can get stuck, and they're also where they can be released. Now, you may be familiar with energy meridians, with the concept, or even with how they work from acupuncture, acupressure, chiropractic, meditation, yoga, and other disciplines that work with these same meridians. And when you physically press or tap on one of these meridians, the same kind of physical sensation we might experience in massage or acupressure sessions, that stuck or held emotion and its paired emotional picture or memory can be freed and released. And that frees up the energy in the whole body system to start flowing freely again, flowing as it is designed to flow. And that's what produces the feeling of improved ease, peace, calm, and quality of life, wellness, quality of life. So I will demonstrate the full tapping sequence using all of the EFT meridian points that are traditionally used for EFT for people. But it's also important to remember that with pets, we can't always tap on their body, and there's a variety of reasons for this. Sometimes it's because we're working with an animal, and this happens a lot for me. We're working with an animal or a companion animal or a pet or a rescue, or even sometimes it's because the pet is not in the room with us, which often happens for me when I'm working remotely, like I often do in animal communication and energy healing sessions. Sometimes it's because the animal will not tolerate being touched, or it's not safe or appropriate to touch them because of their size or their status or their health or something else. Now, the good news here is there really isn't a need to put an already traumatized animal through any kind of experience of being forcibly touched, because we can just tap by proxy. Proxy is an easy fix to what feels like a complicated problem. And there are a few different methods for tapping by proxy. Three of the most common methods: one is using another live animal. Let's say you have a pet who is very happy, or at least feels neutral about being tapped or touched. Or you could use a stuffed animal or even a pillow, or you can use your own body as a proxy. I typically use my own body as a proxy when I'm working with an animal using the EFT modality. Now, sometimes the pet or the animal will tolerate or even enjoy having their own energy meridians directly tapped. And you can always try this out. You could just pick one of the energy points and maybe just lightly kind of tap on their forehead or tap down their spine and just see how they react. And just pay close attention to their nonverbal cues, their body language, as well as any vocalizations, and just get a sense of whether this will be tolerated or perhaps even enjoyed. And so if you have an animal that you're working with that will tolerate it or enjoy it, it's perfectly fine to tap directly on their body. However, sometimes this also presents a problem in figuring out exactly where to tap on that pet's body that would be the closest approximation of that same meridian point, that energy point on a human body. And so if this comes up, you can just tap at a specific meridian, such as down the spine is a great one, or kind of over the crown chakra point, which might be on their forehead or between their ears or on the top of their head somehow, or right behind their crest if they're a bird, something like that, or over the breastbone or the heart area of the chest. That's not a formal EFT point, but I use that a lot when I'm tapping by proxy with animals. Regardless of how or where or on what you choose to tap, the key to making emotional freedom technique effective with your pet is to tap while you are repeating the statement we created in the last video 3 times in a row. So while you are saying that statement that we created for this example, and that statement, if you need a little refresher, is even though I am experiencing strong anxiety because I am afraid my human is going to leave me and never come back. That's the problem, the even though problem statement. The solution or the goal or the intention that we're setting is I still deeply and completely love and accept myself exactly the way that I am. Isn't that right, my love? Yeah, you don't have any trouble with that, do you? Mwah. And at the same time you're saying this statement 3 times, you're at the same time tapping on all of the meridian points in sequence. And ideally, you'll tap on the full set of meridian points for each repetition. So each set of meridians is tapped 3 times, and the statement itself is repeated 3 times. So let me just show you, and I will show you exactly how it would look if I was using myself as a tapping proxy and tapping on my own body using this example statement in a session on behalf of one of my pet clients. I'll run through the tapping points first and then show you how that would look when I pair it with the statement we created. But first, I want to share with you, there are different ways to tap. Some people use more fingers than other people use while they're tapping. Some people like to use both hands while tapping in unison on the points on either side of the body, while others use only one hand to tap with. All of this is your choice. It's really about what works best for you and what feels right. So you're tapping into your own intuition and your empathy channel, which we talked about in the last video. You're really using your empathy channel to tune in to the pet or the animal that you're working with to feel what feels right on their behalf. So the first tapping point or meridian is at the top of the head. It's at the crown chakra point, and this may look a little different depending on the animal species. If you're tapping on them, or you can just tap here at the top of your head at your crown chakra point. You can tap with 2 hands, you can tap with 1 hand. You can tap, if you're tapping with 2 hands, you might want to tap in unison, or you might want to alternate and tap, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Normally people use 4 fingers, but you can also use 2 fingers to tap with. It's really your choice. Just feel into what feels right. And the next tapping point is in the center of the forehead. The tapping point that follows is at the temple. And then the next is underneath the eye. So if you were doing it with 2 hands, you're going to be tapping at your crown chakra, then moving to your forehead, to your temples, underneath the eyes. Then you move to the point just underneath the nose and above the mouth, so in that little space in between the upper lip and the bottom of your nose. And then the point between the start of your chin and your lower lip, right above where your chin begins. Then you tap just under the collarbone here, and then under the armpits, which is a fun little move here if you're using both hands. And then the final point, which people usually only do with one hand at this point, is what some people call the karate chop point. And this is the point that begins where the end of your pinky finger ends up on the outside of your hand. And as you can hear, our pets tend to really love this, and sometimes they even like to sing along. Okay, that's just too adorable. Mwah! You're so precious. And again, you can use either 2 or 4 fingers. Traditionally, we use 4 fingers, but play around with it and see what feels right. And now I'll show you what it looks like when we pair our example statement with the tapping on the energy meridian points. And you're going to want to try to aim for between 5 and 7 taps on each point before moving on. And so here's our statement. Even though I'm experiencing strong anxiety because I am afraid my human is going to leave me and never come back, I still deeply and completely love and accept myself exactly the way that I am. So I'm about to begin an EFT tapping sequence of 3 using the mental, the emotional, and the kinetic or the physical. Even though I am experiencing strong anxiety because I am afraid my human is going to leave me and never come back, I still deeply and completely love and accept myself exactly the way that I am. Even though I am experiencing strong anxiety because I'm afraid my human is going to leave me and never come back, I still completely and deeply love and accept myself exactly the way that I am. Even though I am experiencing strong anxiety because I'm afraid my human is going to leave me and never come back, I am still completely and deeply love and accept myself exactly the way that I am. And as you can see, this is a bit of patting your head and chewing gum and rubbing your tummy all at the same time. And so you don't have to do it perfectly. I didn't do it perfectly. The intention, again, I'm really big on setting an intention. And the intention drives the energy. And it opens the door because you are literally being believing eyes for your animal. You are believing for them on their behalf that they can release this energy, that they can release this trauma, that they can return to living in the present moment with increased health, increased happiness, wellness, quality of life. So that's what it would look like if you were working with a person or tapping on your own body as a proxy for an animal. And as I mentioned earlier, there's a number of different ways to tap by proxy as well. And so it's important to recognize that, if this just feels like just too much for you, or you're just pressed for time, or maybe you're in a public space where you don't want to break out all the energy meridian points in public, or you're just in a place where space is kind of at a premium and you're feeling kind of cramped, you can just pick out one energy meridian to tap on while you repeat the statement 3 times. I usually will pick either the outside of one hand, that karate chop point, under my collarbone, usually just with one hand, or my personal favorite at the moment, but it's not part of the official tapping meridians, is just over the breastbone in the center of the chest. This is a proxy for tapping down the spine of an animal, which is kind of hard for me to reach. Then I can tap down the front of the animal, just setting the intention that I'm tapping over the animal's spine. And it just, you're tapping right over the heart and the gut brain, which is a great way to help the body kinetically release any stuck or held energy. So let's say you are going to tap just on one point, but you're going to repeat the statement 3 times. Let's pick the karate chop point. And you would say, even though I'm experiencing strong anxiety, thank you, my sweetheart, for the soundtrack, because I'm afraid that my human's going to leave me and never come back, I still deeply and completely love and accept myself exactly the way that I am. You might want to switch and do the other karate chop point. Even though I am experiencing strong anxiety because I am afraid my human is going to leave me and never come back, I still deeply and completely love and accept myself exactly the way that I am. And here's what it would look like if you would do the point under the collarbone here. You could say, even though I am experiencing strong anxiety because I'm afraid my human is going to leave me and never come back, I still deeply and completely love and accept myself exactly the way that I am. And then you could take a deep breath and let it go. Now, in traditional EFT tapping with people, you would also be guided to first identify the intensity of the trauma or the strong emotion or the memory that you're working with. Let's say you were having a very bad anxiety attack, and maybe so on a scale of 0 to 10, you would rate your anxiety as a 9 when you go into the EFT tapping session. And then the goal or the intention would be to tap on the meridians while repeating the phrase you created 3 times, and then re-rate the intensity level after the first sequence of 3. Now you might find that the intensity goes down. Maybe that's enough. Maybe it's gone from a 9 to a 4, and that's enough relief and release for you. Maybe you might want to repeat it again and see if you can lower the intensity level further. Sometimes the intensity might go up, and that usually just means that you have become more aware of exactly what you're feeling and going through and how it's affecting you. And at that point, this is not the moment to panic. This is the moment to simply re-enter the EFT tapping session and do another series of 3 and then re-rate and work from there. But with an animal or a pet, it's not always possible to accurately rate the intensity that they're feeling before you start the tapping. And you can use your intuition and you can get a sense, or you can watch their behavior and you can feel into it using empathy as a pathway, or you can simply do the EFT tapping session and instead watch on the back end for signs of relief. So don't put pressure on yourself to rate the intensity on behalf of the animal you're working with. Instead, go ahead and move on into the EFT tapping sequence. Do the tapping 3 times paired with that statement, and just pay careful attention to your animal. Any kind of subtle signs, typical signs of more relief, depending on the species, can include deeper or longer breaths, yawning, relaxing their body into a more comfortable position, maybe a change in vocalizations. You might notice the eyelids relaxing or closing. They might even fall asleep on you, which is always a good sign. And these can be other ways of rating a reduction in intensity after an EFT tapping session. And you might want to do a couple sets, especially if you notice that the animal, their body language, their vocalizations are indicating that they're in a state of serious distress or anxiety or fear or some other kind of intensely negative experience. I hope you've enjoyed this video, this explanation of how EFT tapping can work. You can tap by proxy on another animal. As I mentioned, you can tap by proxy on a stuffed animal or a pillow. The easiest by far way I've found is to use yourself as a proxy and tap on yourself, or you can try tapping on your animal if they seem open to that. The point isn't to do it perfectly. The point is to do it, and to do it with a corresponding intention to offer the animal the highest outcome, the greatest relief, the improvement in health and wellness and quality of life, of ease and of relief from whatever distress that they seem to be experiencing. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I hope you will come back for the 4th video in our sequence when we talk about something that I find is especially helpful when I'm working with my pet clients and their people. It's called tandem EFT tapping, and you are not going to want to miss it. Now, if you've enjoyed this video today, please like, subscribe, share, whatever is available based on where you're watching. Please let me know if you've had any experiences of EFT tapping with your own pet or with animals that you work with. And if you have any questions, would love to hear them when we can chat about those in the comments. And come back and see me for the 4th video in this series and learn all about EFT tapping in tandem for people and pets. Okay, see you soon. Bye for now.